Welcome to the Deep Dive. So glad you're joining us today because we have a really fascinating one for you. We're looking ahead to the massive cultural spectacle that is the Eurovision Song Contest 2026.
Yeah, and this year it's happening in Vienna, which is, always a fantastic host city for this kind of thing.
Oh, totally. But we're not just doing a general preview today. Our mission for this deep dive is to look at one very specific, very theatrical journey. We're talking about Lithuania's entry.
Right. The song is called Sólo, quiero.
Exactly.
Mm.
And it's this deeply emotional, just incredibly passionate performance. But the thing is, and okay, let's unpack this. We are contrasting this massive national passion against the cold, hard reality of the international betting odds.
Which is such a weird dynamic, right? Because Eurovision isn't just a glittery pop concert. I mean, it is that, but it's also this high-stakes arena where avant-garde art essentially meets cutthroat international competition.
Yeah, it's brutal. I mean, you pour your soul out, your whole country rallies behind you, and then some mathematical algorithm gives you like a 1% chance of actually winning.
Exactly. And that's exactly what's happening to Lithuania right now.
It's wild. So before we look at where Lithuania is heading on the international stage in Vienna, I think we need to understand who was taking them there.
Yeah, because his journey just getting through the national selection was, it was a dramatic arc all on its own.
Right. So the artist goes by Alen Chicco, but his real name is Tomas Alenikis.
Yeah, Tomas Alenikis. He was born in 1991. And what's really important to know about him is his background. He actually holds a master's degree from...
Wait, a master's degree in music?
Yeah, a master's from the Music Academy of Vytautas Magnus University. So he has this very rigorous classical academic training. But, and this is the kicker, he is also a really prominent pioneer in the Lithuanian drag scene.
Wow. Okay, so that is a potent mix.
Yeah.
You've got the academic musical theater background colliding with, drag culture.
Exactly. It's a very specific toolkit.
It reminds me of, like, a classically trained Shakespearean actor who suddenly decides to do avant-garde street theater, right? Like, he knows all the rigid rules of the stage, which means he knows exactly how to break them to manipulate the audience's emotions.
That's a great analogy, and you can see that exact dynamic play out in his run during the Lithuanian national selection, which was Eurovizija.LT 2026.
Right, because he didn't just walk in and dominate from day one.
No, not at all. In Heat 4, he actually came in second place. He lost to an act named SHWR.
Which is crazy to think about now.
It is, but then we get to the final on February 27th.
At the Twins Bet Arena.
Right, the Twins Bet Arena. And suddenly, he just becomes this unstoppable force. He secures 22 total points and completely crushes the public vote.
Yeah, I have the numbers right here. It says he got 38,747 votes.
Which is massive.
It's a staggering number. That's a massive 45% of the total public vote. He essentially took half the votes in a crowded field of finalists.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is the contrast. You have this measured, maybe slightly hesitant response from the jury in the preliminary heats, right? But then, when the stakes are at their highest in the arena, the artist creates this undeniable landslide connection with the voting public.
It's like the bigger the stage, the more his drag background kicks in. He knows how to work a massive room.
Exactly. Drag relies on crowd psychology and momentum, and he used that theatrical background to perfectly calibrate the tension.
Okay, so that highly theatrical background perfectly explains the depth of his winning song. Because, Sólo quiero is definitely not your typical, shiny, catchy Eurovision pop tune.
No, it goes way beyond that.
Let's look at the exact message that captured those, nearly 39,000 public votes. So the title translates to, I just want more, right?
Yes, I just want more. And it was actually co-written by Ceccah and Arimas Galvelis. Plus, the staging, which is so crucial for Eurovision, was done by Povilas Varvolis.
Oh, and he's Eurovision veteran, right?
Yeah, he's staged some really successful entries for Lithuania in the past, so you have a very experienced team here.
Right. And you really feel that experience when you look at the lyrics. They are surprisingly dark, but ultimately really resilient. Like he sings, even if we're living in a mad world, and even if there are no more gods to pray for.
Yeah, it's heavy stuff.
Very heavy. And then it hits this realization, pain and joy, that's life.
I think the reason it resonates so much is that the song taps into this very modern, global feeling of existential dread.
Yeah.
That feeling of the sky falling, living in a mad world.
Oh, yeah. Anyone looking at the news right now can relate to that.
Exactly. But it counters that dread with this relentless, almost primal hunger for life and connection. It doesn't leave you in the dark.
And he emphasizes that connection by making the track heavily multilingual, right? It's not just in Lithuanian.
No, it weaves together English, Spanish, French, German, Lithuanian, and I think a few others.
Yeah.
And there's a specific lyric where he talks about how pain creates music that unites without words.
Which is literally the core ethos of Eurovision.
Mm-hmm.
And it's already working. Like,
Yeah.
international fans are already connecting with it. There was this one YouTube comment from a Ukrainian fan that I saw in our sources, and they were offering Lithuania their 12 points.
Ah, yeah, the symbolic 12 point.
Yeah. Even though they aren't in the same voting semifinal, the emotion completely crossed the border.
Well, and here's the thing about those languages. It's holding a mirror up to Europe.
Yes. And actually, here's where it gets really interesting. Right in the middle of all this heavy existentialism, he has this incredibly self-aware lyric. He sings, maybe it would be easier with subtitles.
Oh, it's brilliant.
I mean, it's totally meta. It feels like a direct commentary on the Eurovision contest itself.
yeah.
Like, you have this chaotic room full of dozens of languages, and millions of people are desperately trying to understand each other through, wind machines and visual spectacle.
Yeah, he's actively breaking the fourth wall. It's the drag influence again, being profoundly serious while also winking at the audience. He's taking the biggest hurdle of the contest, the language barrier, and turning it into a joke that we're all in on.
It's so smart. So, okay,
Yeah.
we have this deeply emotional, globally minded, meta-theatrical song that Lithuania clearly absolutely adores.
Right.
But how does that raw emotion actually translate to the rest of Europe? Let's look at the brutal reality of the current odds,
Yeah.
because this is where things get a bit bleak.
Yeah, the bookmakers are telling a completely different story.
I mean, despite the art and the public vote at home, Alen Chicco is currently sitting at the very bottom of the bookmakers' predictions.
Yep.
He has just a 1% chance to win overall.
Which is just mathematically devastating.
It is. And for you listening, if you don't know how the voting works, it's split. Half the points come from professional juries and half from the televotes, the public at home. And he has a 1% chance in both those separate predictions, too.
It's across the board. The models just don't see him.
Right, so who do the models actually see? Let's contrast this with the heavy favorites. Finland is currently the overall favorite, right?
Yeah, Finland is at the top. It's Linda Lampenius and Pete Parkkonen with a song called Liikenheiten. They have a 28% chance to win it all.
28%. That is a massive gap.
Huge. And when you look at the split predictions, you see exactly what the bookmakers are valuing.
Okay, break that down for us.
So for the jury vote, the favorite is Australia's Delta Goodrem with her song Eclipse.
Oh, wow. Delta Goodrem.
Right, she's an internationally established star, and she has a 26% chance of winning the jury. Juries traditionally love proven vocal precision and familiar pop structure.
That makes sense. And what about the televote?
For the televote, Israel's Noam Beton is predicted to win, also with 26%, for his song Michelle.
Okay, so this raises an important question then. There seems to be this massive disconnect between what bookmakers value, which is, established stars or familiar formulas, and what actual viewers connect with on a visceral level.
Exactly. The odds favor safety. They favor the known variable. A highly specific avant-garde art pop track from a drag artist is a statistical anomaly. The algorithms don't know what to do with it, so they assign it a 1% probability.
But I have to push back on that. Isn't this just the classic critics versus the box office divide?
How do you mean?
Well, the bookies are essentially the critics here, right? They're looking at spreadsheets and historical trends. But just because the critics don't see it coming doesn't mean a wildly theatrical, deeply emotional performance won't resonate with the audience on the actual night. I mean, he literally already proved he can sway a massive crowd when he crushed the Lithuanian final.
That's a very fair point. Humans aren't algorithms. And when someone is bleeding their heart out on stage, singing about wanting more in a mad world, people feel that.
Right. And speaking of wanting more, the fact that Lithuania is entering as a massive underdog at 1%, it actually fits perfectly into their historical narrative of the contest.
Oh, completely. They have a massive chip on their shoulder.
They really do. Let's talk about the stakes for Lithuania, because the history here is kind of heartbreaking. They debuted at Eurovision back in 1994.
And that did not go well.
No, it was a disaster.
Yeah.
They scored the infamous 0 points, 0 points.
Ouch.
Yeah. And in their 25 participations since then, they have never won the contest. Not once. Their absolute best finish was 6th place, and that was way back in 2006.
So they've been waiting a very long time, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, you have to look at their neighbors.
Oh, the Baltic neighbors. This just adds insult to injury.
Exactly. Estonia won the whole thing in 2001, and then Latvia won the very next year in 2002. So Lithuania is surrounded by past winners, and they're still waiting for their moment.
It's like, so what does this all mean? To me, it feels like a legendary sports curse.
Yeah.
You know, like the Chicago Cubs or the Boston Red Sox waiting nearly a century to win a World Series.
Yeah, it's a national complex at this point.
Every single year is a new chance to break the curse. Which is why sending Alen Chicco with a song literally called I Just Want More feels so incredibly poignant for the country right now.
Yeah.
It's not just an artist wanting more, it's an entire nation saying, we want the trophy.
That's exactly it. Winning isn't just about getting a glass microphone. It's about national validation. It's about finally stepping out of the shadow of your geographic neighbors.
And honestly, the historical odds don't mean anything in Eurovision anyway.
Yeah.
Our sources have some amazing trivia that proves just how unpredictable this contest historically is.
Oh yeah, the trivia is wild. Past performance and current odds absolutely do not dictate future success here.
Right, like a 13-year-old literally won the contest once. Sandra Kim for Belgium.
Yeah, the algorithms definitely wouldn't have predicted that.
Or the fact that 5 different barefoot singers have won.
That's always a fun one.
And Luxembourg
They've
won 5 times,
Yeah.
but they have never actually sent a Luxembourgish singer to win it for them.
It's a contest that defies logic. But I think the most relevant historical precedent for Lithuania right now is actually Portugal.
Oh, yes. Portugal's journey. Tell them about Portugal.
So Portugal debuted, and they waited and waited. It took them 49 contests to finally win.
Wow.
49. But when they finally did win, they didn't just scrape by. They set an all-time points record. And they did it with a quiet, unconventional jazz ballad that completely defied the pop formulas of that year.
See? That proves it. When the emotion is real, the formulas go out the window.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's bring it all together for you listening right now. We've gone through a lot, but here is the core of it. We have a highly educated classical musician who also happens to be a drag pioneer. He crafted this multilingual meta-theatrical anthem about existential pain and the joy of life.
Right, and he used that exact song to completely sweep his nation's vote, despite losing earlier in the competition.
Yeah. And now he is marching into Vienna as this massive 1% underdog, carrying the weight of a 25-year national drought. He's up against these polished, heavy favorites from Finland, Australia, and Israel. But his journey proves that true art is about expression, not just statistics.
It's about human connection. You can't put a probability score on how a song makes a crowd feel in the moment.
Exactly. And that actually brings me to a final thought that I want to leave you with today. Something to kind of mull over on your own.
Let's hear it.
So building on Alen Chicco's lyric, you know, the one where he asks, maybe it would be easier with subtitles. Think about the broader state of global pop music right now.
Okay.
Everything is so calculated. We have algorithms on streaming platforms pushing for this increasing homogenization of music. Everything sounds the same, so you won't skip the track.
Right, the edges are all sanded down.
Exactly. So my question for you to explore is this. Does the increasing homogenization of global pop music actually make it harder for deeply culturally specific avant-garde acts like this to break through the noise because the system isn't built for them? Or does that exact same homogenization make their raw, subtitle-free, messy human emotion more necessary than ever before?
Wow. Yeah, if everything is sterile, the glitch in the system is the only thing that actually makes you feel alive.
Right. Are we actually starving for something real? Something that doesn't need a subtitle or an algorithm to justify its existence? That's something to think about as we head toward Vienna. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll catch you next time.